In a world where girls are color-coded, traded like property, and married off the moment their bodies change, two young women from completely different worlds are about to collide in ways that will shake the foundations of everything around them. This is The Testaments, the brand new 2026 Hulu series and the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. And trust me when I say this show wastes absolutely no time getting dark. Hello and welcome back to werecap. Today we are breaking down the first 4 episodes of The Testaments, so buckle up because there is a lot to cover. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe before we begin. Now let us get straight into it. The story is set in Gilead, a deeply oppressive society built on religious extremism, 4 years after the events of The Handmaid's Tale. Our first main character is Agnes, the daughter of a powerful commander. Agnes has grown up inside this system and has largely accepted it because buying into the rules was always easier than questioning them. Her only small act of rebellion is a dollhouse, a perfect replica of her real home, where she traps the miniature version of her wicked stepmother Paula in the attic whenever she feels like it. Small victories. Agnes attends an elite preparatory school run by the formidable Aunt Lydia. The school does not teach academic subjects. Instead, it teaches girls everything they need to become obedient, pious wives. The students are divided by color and age into 3 groups. The pinks are the youngest girls. The plums are the older girls who have not yet started their periods. And the greens are the girls who have fully come of age and are actively being groomed and matched to commanders for marriage. Agnes is a plum and her closest friend is Becca, though even their friendship has to be kept secret since close friendships between girls are discouraged. School life in Gilead is as disturbing as you would imagine. Field trips include watching men who have been hanged in public, their faces covered with bags marked in red to identify them as criminals. No evidence is ever presented. The women are somehow blamed for tempting them anyway. One particularly horrifying classroom moment involves a man being dragged in and accused of inappropriate behavior on school grounds. Aunt Estee leaves it entirely up to the girls to decide his punishment, and every single one of them enthusiastically demands the most severe consequence possible. The man's arm is sliced open by a buzzsaw right there in front of them while he sobs and vomits through a gag. The girls cheer. This is their normal. Into this world arrives our second main character, a girl named Daisy. Daisy is a Pearl Girl, which is the name given to girls who have been brought in from outside Gilead as converts. Pearl Girls have a reputation among the students for ratting people out to the aunts, so nobody trusts her immediately. Aunt Lydia assigns Agnes to look after Daisy and help her settle in, though she gives no explanation as to why. Agnes and Daisy spend most of their early time together carefully trying to figure each other out. We learn that Daisy is from Toronto, which she describes to the other girls as suffocating in sin, playing the role of a devoted new believer perfectly. But cracks begin to show almost immediately. During the classroom punishment scene where the man's arm is sawed open, Daisy flees the room and is violently sick in the corridor. She is not horrified by the violence itself as much as she is horrified by how eagerly her classmates demanded it. Agnes cannot understand what Daisy is so upset about. He broke the rules, she says simply, as though a public mutilation without any fair trial is just a standard Tuesday afternoon. The gap between their 2 worlds has never been clearer. Despite the rocky start, a small and fragile bond forms between them. Daisy accidentally blasphemes in front of Agnes and Agnes promises not to report her. God is merciful, Agnes tells her quietly, but the aunts sometimes are not. That single moment of unexpected kindness changes something between them. But that night in the cramped dormitory, Daisy pulls out a hidden portable radio from a secret panel in her bed frame. She is clearly receiving instructions from someone on the outside. And in a brief but significant flashback, we see a free and happy Daisy skating through the streets of Toronto while being quietly watched from a distance by none other than June Osborne. Things are already far more complicated than they appear. Agnes then starts her period, which in Gilead means she has crossed from childhood into adulthood. From off-limits to fair game, things are about to get much worse for her. In Gilead, a girl starting her period is presented as a stamp of approval from God himself, a cause for celebration. The school makes a massive public event of a plum becoming a green. The girl rings a bell to announce her transition and is lavished with attention and praise from every direction. Agnes is excited but terrified in equal measure and admits in her narration that it is genuinely difficult to tell one feeling from the other. Her stepmother Paula, who has been portrayed up to this point as a straightforward villain, shows a small and unexpected moment of warmth. In the absence of Agnes's beloved Martha Rosa, Paula is the one who helps Agnes understand what is happening to her body and passes on a thoughtful gift that belonged to Agnes's deceased adoptive mother Tabitha. It is a surprisingly tender moment from a woman nobody trusts. But the warmth does not last long. Agnes is so eager to ring the bell and receive her green badge that she brushes Daisy off when she tries to talk to her. This backfires spectacularly. Daisy, feeling dismissed and hurt, goes and confesses her earlier blasphemy to one of the aunts. Sins in Gilead require correction, and correction here means being dragged to the corrections room while the other girls are brought in to surround the offender and chant "dirty girl" repeatedly in her face. Agnes is made to lead the chanting since Daisy was her responsibility. In her narration, Agnes admits feeling a shameful rush of pleasure during the punishment that she cannot fully explain. Her conditioning runs deeper than even she realizes. Daisy then gets her own revenge by telling the aunts that Agnes heard her blaspheme and said nothing. As a consequence, both girls are made to scrub their mouths with soap. Agnes is furious. Once again, her naivety is on full display. She still cannot understand why Daisy would be shocked or disturbed by anything she has witnessed. But the most disturbing scene involves a visit to the dentist. Paula takes Agnes to see Dr. Grove, who happens to be Becca's father. He initially presents as kind and supportive, asking Agnes to look out for Becca during her own transition. And then, under the guise of a medical examination, he sexually assaults Agnes. There is no dramatic confrontation, no accusation. Agnes knows what happened, but there is nobody she could ever tell in Gilead and nothing she could ever prove. After leaving the appointment, Agnes begins having nightmares about a faceless husband forcing himself upon her. And Becca's increasing misery and dread about becoming a green suddenly makes complete and devastating sense. Things then take another deeply uncomfortable turn. Agnes's father has returned home from business and is sitting in the parlor surrounded by other powerful men. Agnes must kneel on the floor in a position of total submission and inform her father that she has started her period. The other men watch and smile with smug satisfaction. It is one of the most quietly horrifying moments the show has produced so far. The story then shifts its focus to Daisy and reveals exactly who she is and what she is really doing inside Gilead. Through a series of flashbacks, we learn her full backstory, and it is both heartbreaking and deeply significant. Daisy grew up in Toronto in a seemingly ordinary life. Her parents Neil and Melanie ran a vintage clothing store and had nothing to do with politics or resistance movements as far as Daisy knew. The Pearl Girls in white who handed out honey jars on Toronto street corners were treated by most people the way you would treat door-to-door missionaries, with mild amusement and very little concern. Daisy never imagined that Gilead as an institution was dangerous enough to reach across borders and murder ordinary civilians. But that is exactly what happened. Neil and Melanie were killed suddenly and without warning. Daisy is taken to identify their bodies, and is in a state of complete shock when June Osborne appears and tells her the devastating truth. Her parents were working with Mayday, the underground resistance movement fighting against Gilead. They were killed by Gilead agents, and Daisy herself is not safe. Daisy does not want to believe any of it. She sneaks out to see her boyfriend Justin, who gifted her the hidden radio she has been using, and tries desperately to feel some sense of normality. But June is waiting for her when she leaves and delivers one final piece of information that changes everything. Daisy is a child of Gilead. Her biological parents were inside Gilead and managed to get her out as a baby. Neil and Melanie adopted her, and now Gilead wants her back. Back in the present day, the Plums are taken on a field trip to visit the grand home of a former classmate who has recently married a commander. Daisy is forced to come along, and her internal monologue is now audible to us as viewers, allowing us to hear exactly what she really thinks of everything happening around her. She silently tears apart the naivety of Agnes and her peers, even while playing the role of a dutiful Pearl Girl to everyone's face. It is genuinely funny and deeply sad at the same time because we now understand that these girls are not monsters. They are victims of a system so complete and so totalizing that they cannot even imagine a world outside of it. The field trip introduces Commander Judd, who seems to be shaping up as one of the season's primary villains. He arrives to be performatively affectionate toward his young wife Penny in front of all the girls and takes a particular interest in Daisy, gently pressing her on her reasons for becoming a Pearl Girl. She gives him the expected answer: to do God's will. He seems to accept it, but the tension in that conversation is unmistakable. And then the school bus is attacked by Mayday agents on the way back. In the chaos and gunfire, Daisy immediately throws herself over Agnes to shield her from the bullets. She is visibly braver than any of the adults present, including Aunt Vidala, who simply lies flat on the floor and prays. The attack was supposed to be a retrieval mission organized by Daisy herself and her Mayday contact Garth. But something clearly went wrong because the girls were never supposed to be in danger. Afterward, Daisy passes Garth the hand-drawn map she had been secretly working on since her arrival. But when she asks to speak to June directly, Garth tells her he does not know who that is. Daisy is now stuck firmly in the middle, playing both sides with no clear way out and no guarantee that either side is fully trustworthy. Agnes has now officially become a green, and the social machinery of Gilead is moving to find her a husband as quickly as possible. A tea party is held at Agnes's home, which in Gilead functions as a formal marriage market event. An opportunity for the mothers to flatter the aunts and position their daughters as attractively as possible for the best matches available. Daisy is meanwhile continuing her work as a double agent inside the system. She describes the aunts as frigid sadists in her internal monologue while smiling pleasantly to their faces. She is beginning to genuinely see her classmates as innocent victims of the world they were born into rather than willing participants in their own oppression. But maintaining that sympathy takes real effort when those same classmates casually stroll past hanged bodies without a second glance. The danger around Daisy is closing in fast. A florist who is also a Mayday agent pulls her aside and begs her urgently to tell Garth to move her out of Gilead. They are closing in on her, the woman says with real fear in her eyes. By the time Daisy passes the flower shop later that same day, it is being raided by the Eyes, Gilead's secret police. She later learns the woman was shot dead in the street. Daisy manages to hold herself together through the rest of the day, but the final scene shows her alone, screaming silently into a towel as the reality of her situation crashes down on her completely. Back at the tea party, the tradition dictates that a small porcelain bride figurine is hidden inside a cake, and whichever green girl finds it will be the first to be married. Agnes finds it with her teeth and promptly snaps a tooth clean in half. This leads directly back to Dr. Grove for an emergency dental appointment. Exactly the man who assaulted her after her last visit. Agnes has to be fully anesthetized for the procedure. The show does not show what happens while she is unconscious, but the implication is absolutely devastating. When Agnes wakes up, she discovers her shirt has been unfastened. There is nobody she can tell. There is nowhere she can go. This is simply the world she lives in. Meanwhile, Daisy uses the tea party visit to sneak into Commander Kyle's private office looking for information to pass to Garth. Kyle catches her, but instead of reporting her, he offers her a chocolate from his desk and lets her go. It is a strange and unexpected act of apparent kindness, but nothing in Gilead is ever straightforward. When Daisy later passes the chocolate to Garth, he discovers it contains a wrapper from Japan, which is a country under strict sanctions against Gilead. Commander Kyle has clearly been conducting business he is not supposed to be conducting. Whether that makes him a potential ally or an even more dangerous threat remains to be seen. For episodes in, and the Testaments has built something genuinely compelling and deeply disturbing. Two young women from opposite worlds are slowly being pushed toward each other by forces neither of them fully understands yet. Agnes is beginning to wake up from a lifetime of conditioning, while Daisy is fighting to survive long enough to complete a mission she is not even sure she fully believes in anymore. And somewhere behind all of it, the shadow of June Osborne stretches all the way from Toronto into the heart of Gilead itself. Thank you for watching werecap. We will be dropping the remaining episodes as soon as they are out, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you do not miss them the moment they drop. See you in the next one.